Paranoia strikes deep. Set into your life, it'll creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, may come take you away. You better stop, children. That sound, everyone's going now. God came to me today looking for charity. I threw myself down on my knees and said, Master, what can I possibly give? Love, he said. Just love. Well, we ever had a totally empty church? I don't know. What does that mean exactly? We'll be on Zoom, though. I sent it to a couple people.
There are 3 so far on Zoom, and I don't know how many on YouTube.
Hey, Garrett, come a little closer if you can. You want to come a little closer? Okay, I just thought I want you to hear a little bit better.
Okay, I guess we're ready to start. Okay, Annie.
Okay, we're really going to start.
Yeah, we're really
Welcome, everybody. Anybody knows this song that can sing along? What's that I hear ringing in my ears? I've heard that sound before. What's that I hear ringing in my ears? I hear it more and more. It's the sound of freedom calling, rising up to the sky. It's the sound of the always falling. Can hear it if you try. Can hear it if you try. Can hear it if you try. What's that I see shining in my eyes? I've seen that light before. What's that I see shining in my eyes? I see it more and more. It's the light of freedom shining, rising up to the sky. It's the light of the always falling. You can see it if you try. Can see it if you try. Can see it if you try. What's that I feel beating in my heart? I felt that beat before. What's that I feel beating in my heart? I feel it more and more. It's the rumble of freedom calling, rising up to the sky. It's the rumble of the always falling. You can feel it if you try. You can feel it if you try. Can see it if you try. You can hear it if you try. Can hear it if you try. Phil Oaks. Thank you, Phil.
Blessed be. And welcome to All Souls Universalist Church. I'm Sandra Boston. I'm your host today. In the spirit of welcome, let's just turn around and wave to the folks here to make everybody feel welcome. We're so glad that you chose to be here on Memorial Day Sunday. Yes, indeed.
The visible and the invisible.
Yeah, and we're just welcoming any newcomers here. We'd love to have you sign the guest book. I don't see any, except for Miss Cheryl making her way up the side of the aisle. So our special musician today, Annie Hassett, joining us. And I don't know why the person put an introit in the bulletin, but we're going to just skip that and go right to the call to worship. So now I invite everyone to breathe. Breathe deeply. Come into the room. Be present. Be focused. Be at peace. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into each other's faces and see communion. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence here together. Let us take this time for quiet reflection as we listen to the prelude.
Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasure. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasure. I love you so. Dear friends, let me tell you how I feel. You have given me such treasure. I love you so. I love you so.
As we light the chalice this morning, Annie's going to recite the poem by Naomi Shihab Nye. Many of you have heard it before. It's our meditation on why we light the chalice together.
Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you can go and know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the windows forever. Before you can learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you can know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for, and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend.
Thank you, Annie. Every week in our church, we take up an offering, which gives us an opportunity to exercise the generosity of spirit that supports All Souls in its many ministries. We see this act of giving, of growing more generous in our hearts and in our actions, as essential to our spiritual well-being. We will now receive the morning offering.
The whole thing came off. Oh well. Sorry. Sure, thanks. Guess these 2 pieces of paper is good. I didn't really need it, but I thought I'd just.
To this one?
Yeah, go in one of the first 2 pages. Yeah, down here, it's good. How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? If you know it, sing along. How many seas must a white dove sail before she can sleep in the sand? And how many times must a cannonball fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Well, how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years must the people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? And how many deaths? How many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Little accompaniment here with Cheryl Fox. Thank you, Cheryl.
You can see how Annie has partnered with me today. I had planned to preach a sermon about Earth Day and our relationship to the planet. But the events of this last week changed the lens. And Annie and I gathered together and opened our hearts and pleaded for guidance, and all that came through were the songwriter poets. And they are blessing us today with their wisdom, their guidance. And what we're going to explore today is, what do we mean by blowing in the wind? What does that mean? It's mystery, isn't it? So where do we begin today? We meet at the well of grief, of horror, of a relentless division in this country around what constitutes safety and rights. We face futility, repetition of arguments on both sides, and rage. I'd prepared a sermon for today on loyalty to life, focusing on our relationship to our swirling, surging, radiant community of interdependence that sustains us, yet needs us as teammates in order for that very sustainability to function and life to continue for us in community with all species. But the lens has changed, yet the question is the same. What is our role in the scheme of things? How do we shape pressure and lend strength to our best vision of a society accountable to each of its members, only sustainable to the degree that we are all team players in that interdependence and enjoyment of a secure future? Annie and I were compelled to gather and rethink what we had planned as we listened to each other, yearning for guidance. Song after song arose in our awareness. Somehow our poet-songwriters have already been where we find ourselves today, at this well. What's that I hear? Is it the sound of old ways falling? Can you hear it if you try? How many times must a man look up and pretend he just doesn't see? Dear friends, pulled us into the center. Without dear friends, we are powerless. With them, we can meet any challenge. Where do we find kindness in this grief, in this repetition of the lonely one riding the bus forever? When does kindness finally become the friend we want to go with us forever? I think of Eddie Glaude, a Black man writing the story of James Baldwin's life, calling his book Begin Again. How many times have the people struggling for freedom, for respect, for safety and inclusion met with the same despair, hopelessness, and rage on their journey as we may feel today, and been willing to begin again? James, or Jimmy, as Glaude refers to his friend, left this country to live in Paris for 10 years just to try and remember who he really was, to heal from the exhaustion of constant distortion of his person and his reality. Then he came back again and rejoined the struggle for Black freedom and dignity. Where did he find resilience, renewal, resolve? We, like him, must find it. He once said to an interviewer, quote, "I am not who you see." There is his resilience and resolve. He stood in his truth. He didn't yield to rage or despair. He taught us that racism is not a Black problem. It is a white problem. We are the sick ones, the damaged ones, the ones who distort reality and cause suffering with our often unconscious bias of superiority. That has to be maintained at all cost, even to the point of becoming cruel, brutal, a murderer. Then he had to leave again, this time to Istanbul, a place where no one knew who he was and he didn't even know the language, just to be safe and relax into being fully himself, relieved not to be on guard or on duty all the time. He was searching for home, for true north, like we are today in the midst of this turmoil and tangled meanings. But then he returned and began again. And so we must find our true north, our truth that cannot be shaken. We can do no less with this power struggle raging through our nation from its very beginning, the struggle between individual freedom, including the unfettered right to own guns and act on self-interest, and those who want laws that restrain that right for the safety of all, for the common good. We can see the vulnerability of this cause. We've been here so many times before. And we can't seem to wield the political power to change the course of events. Isn't this seeming determination to protect individual freedom at great social cost the same as the intent of oil companies to lie about their impact on the environment, on our collective need to survive, in the interests of the wealthiest corporations on the planet? Isn't their right to pursue their individual quest for profits in the same power struggle with those who are fighting for a livable future for our children? And we watch it happening because now there is no more hiding the facts. The more carbon we put into the atmosphere, the hotter the planet becomes. Yet they won't stop. And until we end our dependence on what they're providing, we too are accountable to future generations. And so we despair. It's too big, too hopeless. We can't change it or stop it in time. And then we find the resolve to begin again. Greta scolds the politicians. Greenpeace surges its rubber rafts against the whaling boats in the high seas. Extinction Rebellion hangs from a bridge blocking an oil rig from passing underneath. They begin again. I'm reminded of another group of environmental lawyers calling themselves CELDEV, Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. For 30 years, they defended towns and cities against corporate polluters and lost every time in court because of how laws are written. Federal law trumps state, and state trumps local. So when local communities challenge state permits to pollute their environment, they lose. CELDEF concluded you either give up or lose every time or just say no. They changed course. They started teaching communities to write new laws called the rights of nature. These laws were not legal. They were not legal. But they were based on the assertion stated in every state constitution in this country that the laws in this place will be based on the consent of the governed. Their two mottos were, number one, you have to break the law to change it. Didn't the suffragettes have to do that? Didn't the civil rights activists have to do that? The anti-war activists? The second motto, you don't lose till you quit. Interesting, huh? Jimmy sure understood what CELDEV is talking about. We need to walk in their footsteps. More analogies flood my searching mind. Last Saturday was commemoration of the massacre of 300 Native Americans at Great Falls in the 1700s, mostly women, children, and elders, as the warriors were away hunting. Isn't General Turner and his men galloping into their encampment the same thing as the 18-year-old who walked into that classroom intent on slaughter? Same mentality. Your life doesn't matter, only my life matters. You have something I want, I'm going to take it. Isn't that the way of the colonizer? Haven't we lived our whole life inside the mind of the colonizer? Didn't we just push the Indians back, slaughter them, push them off onto reservations so we could just take what we wanted? Whose life matters? Didn't we watch as our country went into World War II and ended up dropping the only atomic bomb ever dropped? And then Vietnam, Panama, Honduras, Iraq. We've watched it so many times without naming it. Colonizers. Only our rights matter. Now it has come home, and we are doing it to each other. What better teacher for us of these two mottos than Deb Haaland, our first Native American Secretary of the Interior, who's leading the movement for reparations? How many times have her people had to begin again? Water protectors, now they have become role models for us to learn how to live in sacred relationship with the earth. Water is life. You know, just this morning when I was looking over my notes, I realized the people of Bali have something to teach us. I spent 10 days there, and I saw men walking around in sarongs that were black and white checkered, like our old tablecloths. Remember the red and white checkered tablecloths? I thought they're like tablecloths. But then, one day I saw in the center of a roundabout a tree, a great giant tree, and the circumference of its trunk was wrapped by black and white checkered cloth. So I asked my hostess, I said, "What does this mean? I'm seeing it in these unusual places." And she said, "Well, you in the West believe that good triumphs over evil. We believe the best you can hope for is a balance. And that's what the black and white checkered cloth represents." Every time we have to start again, there's this feeling of failure, like we should have done better, we should have gotten there, we should have made it where good triumphs over evil. But there's some truth that the Balinese understand, that we keep finding ourselves back having to begin again. So the truth I'm sitting with is that's just where we belong. I'm sure you've thought of a few other analogies. Boy, by the time we have a lot of reckoning to do, how do we begin again to live as Black Lives Matters? If those Hispanic children, their teachers and families matter. Annie and I turn to the poets. Dear friends, isn't that where we find hope and resolve to begin again? Kindness that goes with us as a friend. I'd like to share one last story with you. One last story. It's a birthday card I got from my 8-year-old granddaughter, which captures the essence of what we're exploring and where we all want to arrive. How is it that an 8-year-old can grasp what is at the core of the struggle we find ourselves in today? Get ready. It's one run-on sentence. God's granddaughter sprouts from a flower formed in the earth and called Sandra. I'm going to read that again. God's granddaughter sprouts from a flower formed in the earth and called Sandra. Her petals fall, then regrow them again, just like planets that circles the earth and at the same time spreads knowledge for college to kids in need, to study the earth and sea over the rocks and under the breeze. It is so fun to learn about goddess granddaughter life, the person who helps keep you alive, the one who spreads kindness and pushes the sad away to a world that doesn't exist, where it gets decomposed into kindness, then travels back into people's hearts so they can always be happy no matter what, because sadness can overcome the kindness, and that would be really bad because God's granddaughters got to spread kindness into your heart. Please take care of God's granddaughter. That's an 8-year-old prayer. How does she know this? Is this our natural human goodness pleading to be cherished and honored? Her words give us a place to start, to begin again, believing we can create a world where we can feel safe. We can trust that others will have our best interest at heart as well as their own. Where our rainbow race, as Pete Seeger calls it, our intention to show up, take care of our blessed planet and each other, and sing our songs together, will transform hate and selfishness into community. Now is the time. Time for humans to know we can only survive by pulling together. Time to settle our disputes, stop whatever pulls us down or pulls us apart. Time to pray for the will to reverse trends of greed and privilege that we have been able to afford in the past but no longer can. Time to curb pollution, overconsumption, extremes of poverty and privilege that enrage the human soul. Time to honor the balance of nature, take only what we truly need and preserve the rest for future generations that deserve a beautiful, plentiful earth. Time to teach children the wisdom that true security is in pulling together for the common good and leaving no one behind. Time to name, exclaim the threads that hold the fabric of life together: sacredness, continuity, conservation, and consecration of our lives to the service of life itself. Time to choose leaders who serve the good of all. Time to repudiate those who serve the few and the privileged. Time for new songs, songs that give us strength, that weave our common thread, that join us in the mighty shift, that lifts the weight of inertia, that helps us find vision and perseverance. Time for poets to open our minds and hearts to the doorways to peace and justice and true celebration. Time for bravery to stay the course, no matter what resistance arises. Time to die to yearnings for comfort and ease, to know that what must be done is crucial and will demand more than all we have to give. Time to put ourselves in the heart of spirit and know that we will be given all we need for the accomplishment if we just say yes and keep taking the next step together. Time to begin again.
Again, anybody that knows this song, please sing along. I was listening to something by Pete Seeger today talking about the difference between greed and money, how you lose yourself and how with community you find yourself. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow rays. It's too soon to die. Can you try that? One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? Who could ask for more? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow rays. it's too soon to die. Some folks want to be like an ostrich, bury their heads in the sand. Some think all their plastic dreams can clench all those greedy hands. Some folks want to take the easy way out, poison bombs, they think they need them. Don't you know you can't kill all the unbelievers? There's no shortcut to freedom. Please sing with me. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round. Who could ask? Who could ask for more? And because I love you, and because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. Go tell all the little children. Go tell the mothers and fathers too. This is the last chance we have to share what's been given to me and you. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. One more time. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping on our shore, one earth so green and round. Who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. History comes in here. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sandra.
It's time in our service now to share our joys and sorrows. And I'm going to invite anyone who'd like to share their own reflection on what this last week has been for us, and any wisdom you have to share about how we meet these times with a broken heart and an open heart and a willing heart. I guess I'll take the mic around, so if you want to share a thought, a prayer, or a joy or sorrow, just raise your hand and I'll come to you.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Fox. Sandra, by being my dear friend, just walked me through 9 months of depression. I came out of it 13 days ago. And And on day one, I got this instruction. Open your heart, practice humility, cultivate peace, cultivate joy, express gratitude. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robin. I just wanted to share when I was on the Cape, my son, who was addicted to heroin, committed suicide while he was in jail. And I would go from church to church hoping that I would hear something holy, that I would hear something that would help me make sense of the world. And I would cry in each of these churches. And I'm not a pretty crier, I'm an ugly crier with my nose and with my eyes and with the... So I would sit through church services like that. And I went to the Unitarian church. And when I went to the Unitarian church, there was a woman that was standing next to me. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And I told her what had happened. And she said, "Oh, my sweet girl." And she held onto my hand during that entire service. And that, for me, was finding what I had been looking for in those churches. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Sandra. Begin again. So, I'm Pam, and I went to the same thing Sandra did this last week. It was in the Indigenous Peoples Memorial for the, well, I think it's 402 years, of colonial occupation, you could say. And it's a lot of troubling things. And it was a remarkable experience. It was Doug Harris, some of you know him. He's the Historic Preservation Officer for the Narragansetts. He was. He's an absolutely excellent speaker. And he made it a gratitude set. He did a gratitude event. And following Doug Harris's lead, everybody else followed suit, really. So it was a gratitude thing. So I've been working with an indigenous group for like 9 years, Nolambika Project. But the remarkable thing was Rich Holshoe was the last speaker. And Rich Holshoe works with the Abenaki, which is sometimes called the Abenaki, more properly, tribe, who were run out of Massachusetts, run right through Vermont, would have been killed, women sterilized by the colonials into Canada. And Rich is part Abenaki, but very small part. His name is German. And he said, this is the important thing that I want to say. He says, "I don't believe in hope. I believe in responsibility." And that's where I'm coming from too. I think hope leaves the responsibility for where you are in the hands of other people. Do you know what I mean? Hope is not active. And I believe in taking responsibility for positive new directions to move in, positive new directions that will help us create the kind of world that we either want or wished we had. And if we do that, we will build community because we'll be working together on things that we care about. Do you see what I mean? And it despaired me to listen to a man that I respect enormously, Fred, who spoke here not long ago, because his whole sermon was on hope.
Morning, my name's Russ. Despair is the word that comes into my mind biggest. I've had other feelings. If I had the power so that everybody could hear me, if I had the power so everybody could hear me all over the world, I would say, let's talk. Let's listen to one another. Let's hear each of our concerns and try to find some kind of common ground. We have no guarantees. But I don't know what else there is. And thanks.
Hi, I'm Nancy Forrest. Close to my mouth. Is that better? I just am despairing about the events this past week and wondering if there's any way to protect our children from the crazy politicians in this country. So I don't know how to protect the children.
Good morning, I'm Rob. I had a sociology professor who told me maybe 50 years ago in college that the worst line ever written in the Constitution was about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he strongly recommended that we live our lives around the pursuit of kindness. And I think if it was something where in the midst of the tragedy and all the litany of things that are so wrong with the world, that those black and white checkered cloths that you see in Bali, I hope that some of those squares are about the little acts of kindness, like the students from Columbine who 20 years later came back to Uvalde just to be near the people who had gone through something so awful, just so they could physically let them see that they're not alone and that there is a very significant number of people who are determined, however difficult, to keep pushing for positive change.
Hi, my name is Jean Hall. These last couple of weeks have been very, very stressful for me and my family. And I just don't know where it is going to end. And of course, this last week has just been devastating to me and everybody that I know. And those poor 19 babies and their teachers slaughtered. And we have a government, a particular party, who thinks that that is all right because they have the right to own guns. No 18-year-old has a right to go into a store and to be able to buy an assault weapon. And that slaughtered these children and dismembered them so that the parents had to give their DNA to identify them. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't have hope anymore because there is no action being done And I'm tired of hearing these politicians talking about their prayers and condolences when nothing, they aren't going to do anything. That doesn't mean a darn thing, nothing. And so I just hope that this country and the American people can get together and come together and get these politicians out, because this whole country is going to be destroyed, and we are all going to fall together. And those kids did not deserve that. The 10 people and black people in Buffalo did not deserve that. And it's just heartbreaking. And that is all I have to say.
Hi, I'm Kate, and I've got two celebrations. One is that I'm celebrating, Jim and I are celebrating 5 years here in Greenfield, and feel very entwined with my community here, our community here. I'm really glad I moved here. And the second thing is thinking about my mom. She was born in 1915. She died about 15 years ago, and she always had flower clippers in her car, which I've adopted. I don't know if everybody has flower clippers in their car in the summertime, but going around and looking for good flowers is a wonderful hobby. And as I was getting irises, mostly from my brother out in Coleraine, but I was remembering one of my mom's tricks, or flower arranging ideas, was that to have it enough space so a butterfly could fly through it. And so maybe the butterfly could fly through the iris. Anyway.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Annie. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. It took quite a long time for me to feel what I was going to be sharing today. First, the devastation that I felt with those innocent children and people, and how to hold the hope that I feel inside my heart. And I know Pete and a few others said, yeah, evil can go for just so long and then it starts bending toward the truth. And I was listening to somebody say, this could be true or not true, but that at this recent shooting that a woman climbed the fence. They tried to get her, but I think she saved 2 people. And I was told that these officers, whoever was on board for that, weren't trained. And I can tell you right now, as a woman, that you wouldn't have had to train me to go over the fence. I'm not judging them. I've seen women, elephants, I've seen tigers, I've seen monkeys, I've seen every animal on this earth that will go forth and risk their own life for their children. And I felt like we need more women to step forward as an example. I feel like I want to be an example. I am an example. Other women in my community, and I'm not saying anything about men because half of me really identifies, but to hear that they weren't trained and that went on for an hour, I was outraged. I was outraged. I wanted to be there. So I see Nina has her hand up, so a candle for those children and for the people in Buffalo and all of us that go through situations like that. I think Nina wants to say something.
I've been despairing, like many people here, and I can feel that. And I think kindness is so very important, but also, I don't remember who talked about the pursuit of happiness. That is something very different from joy. Joy is a force that exists, and it's inside of us, even in times of struggle. And I have to look for it sometimes in myself, but I know it's there and choose it. And I think it's a time when we need to magnify that force so that we can elevate it in times of despair. So that's what's in my heart right now, is acknowledging the joy and magnifying it. I think that's essential to our well-being and our ability to sustain ourselves and bring our best selves to these moments.
Hi, I wanted to say one more thing briefly. This is where I find hope. As a child, I was molested by my brother, and his birthday is tomorrow, and I then was given the great privilege of raising a beautiful daughter who was also born tomorrow. And for me, that is hope.
What a journey we've been on today. Thank you to each of you who shared your heart. I'm grateful for this opportunity to put my thoughts together and work with Annie. May all of our prayers be heard. May we feel the strength of our community supporting each of us through this time, and may we be inspired to see what our role is in creating the world that we want to have. For the benediction today, we're going to hear again from Annie and from the Beatles, who in their innocent youth tapped so many truths for us. And this is yet another of them.
And again, anybody who knows the song, please sing along. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my darkest hour, she is standing right in front of me, whispering let it be. Whispering words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me. There will be no sorrow, let it be. Please join in. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be.
And on that note, thank you all for coming and
rise up and show for caring, give love, you know it's for share. Take heart, burdens are carried. We can stand together till a brand new day. Look around the world, we see our families crying. Doesn't seem to matter all the things we're trying. Another needle in the arm is just a message. New day is dawning and it's time for healing. Rise up and show we're caring. Give love, take heart, burdens are buried. We can stand together with a brand new day. Step into the light and you can feel it changing. All the things we've waited for are rearranging. Wrap your arms around me when I get that empty feeling. New day is dawning and it's time for healing. Rise up and show that we can give love, you know that it's for sharing. Take heart, burdens are for bearing. We can stand together, build a brand new day. Sing out and hear the truth a ringing. We can change it all, and all it takes is singing. From the end to the beginning, we can use our hearts and voices. New day is dawning and a brand new way. Rise up and show the world. Give love, you know that it's for take heart, burdens are for bearing. We can stand together, build a brand new way. Take heart, burdens are for bearing. We can stand together, build a brand new way. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Sandra Boston. Thank you, Cheryl Fox, everyone that came today. Our sound here. Thank you so much. All the people on Zoom. Thank you.